95.7 The Game.
All right, I think Dibs and I both want to get to as many callers as possible, so we're going to hop straight to Doc. Time for Cleared to Play. Take you inside the tent, get you updated on the latest injuries in the Bay. Proud to partner with UCSF Health on this segment as we bring in Associate Professor of Orthopedic Surgery, Dr. Nirav Pandya, who last night wrote Draymond Green plays basketball on Friday night. Didn't you, Doc? I saw what you did there.
I did a little tongue-in-cheek there, but yes, he is playing basketball Friday night. Yeah.
Yes, he is. He has been cleared to play.
Well played.
Yes. Hey, while we're on the Warriors, give us a quick 1-2 step on Klay Thompson and James Wiseman and the mental side of getting back from these leg injuries.
Yeah, so I think with Klay, I mean, it's not unexpected for an athlete, coming off of those two big injuries to have a mental block. And I was actually pretty surprised that this wasn't more of an issue during this first season back for him, but you can almost imagine for someone like him, he's, where this injury occurred was during the offseason, during the summer, and, just remembering, like, look, I made it back. I'm worried about something else happening. So I think for Klay in particular, just the time away, the ability to kind of get over those mental blocks, we may see a little bit more of that this season because he's had a taste of coming back, and you're so afraid as an athlete of losing that, that it's not unexpected. He already overcame so much, so I think that, maybe it might be a little bit slower start to the season because of this. So, I think that's something we'll may potentially see with him. Wiseman looks phenomenal. I mean, he looks healthy. He looks strong. I think the bigger thing for him is going to be less about his knee, but just the fact that he hasn't played a lot of basketball at the NBA level. So, there may be a little bit of worry of how his knee is going to respond, playing a full slate of games. But really excited for the upcoming season. Wiseman looks great, and you see that young core out there, and you almost wonder, could that young core even get them to the playoffs with the veterans resting all season?
Yeah, a lot of load management expected this year. Tuesday night, ring night, we're all excited for the opener. But before that, a Niner game, and questions about Nick Bosa. He's got groin tightness. They held him out maybe as a precaution. What's the big sign we should look in terms of Nick Bosa and his ability to be cleared to play?
Yeah, I think when they said tightness, that does kind of lend itself to more of a muscle issue. I mean, you obviously do worry about sports hernias when anyone says a groin, particularly since Bosa had surgery for that issue in the past. And then you worry about cartilage issues as well, too. But tightness is a little bit reassuring. But I do think with an athlete like him who's had, both his ACLs done, had core muscle surgery, and just a big, powerful individual, you do worry about how a groin can become a little bit more of a chronic issue for him. So could he potentially be held out for this weekend? I think that's totally reasonable because most players miss around 12 days, but Bosa is just such a physical specimen that maybe he can come back a little bit sooner. But I think as long as they say tightness, and I think there were some reports he was working on the sideline of practice today, that does give us some hope that maybe he will be out there.
Interesting. I mean, if it would seem like if they had to pick a game to play him, it would be the Chiefs, not the Falcons. But you're right. We'll see. We'll get that first update today. Hey, what about Jimmie Ward? Kyle Shanahan has just said he will be reevaluated in 10 days, needs surgery on the broken hand. So that means we're definitely not going to get him this week or next. But what about the idea of a player at his position playing through a broken hand?
I think that's absolutely a possibility. I mean, I think if the type of break that he has minimal risk of actually moving out of place when you're playing, you're not really worried about infection because any kind of incisions they made during surgery are basically healed up. Then absolutely, yeah, usually around 2 to 3 weeks, there's enough new bone formation that there's a less of a chance that's going to move out of place. So I think at the safety position, or, like you can tackle, you can still do things and still be effective. And I think with a lot of players, when they have a hand fracture, what really limits them is not necessarily the fracture itself, but it's their ability to actually play appropriately. You think about someone like Dak Prescott. Well, if Dak Prescott was a lineman, he'd probably be out there playing, but for a quarterback, a thumb injury is a bigger deal. So I think at this position, that as long as his bone's healing well, I think absolutely you could potentially see him back in a couple weeks once he's cleared by his doctors.
Niners lost their kicker for part of the game, Robbie Gould, with a left knee bruise, the plant leg. How much could this affect his ability to drive in and through the football on Sunday?
Yeah, a lot of it's going to be based on kind of like the pain and swelling in this area. I mean, luckily as a kicker for the most part, and he's played in the NFL a long time, he's potentially not going to compensate worrying about contact. I mean, that's the other thing you worry about. Is he mentally going to be a little bit more, a little off because he's worried about someone running into his leg? But if they can get the pain under control, I don't think it should impact him that much. Typically with bone bruises, it's really repetitive running or repetitive planting that will cause a lot of discomfort. But most athletes, if there's like a couple steps and they have to plant and kick, it's usually okay. So barring any kind of major degree of discomfort, I think he should be good to go, but you may see the impacts on like a 40, 50-yard field goal as opposed to some of the shorter kicks where he should be able to hit.
Doc, you've been cleared to watch Warrior basketball. Is your family ready for you to be gone for the next 7 months?
Yeah, they will. Between the updates about who's playing and all the in-game tweets, I tell my kids, I'll see you in April. I'll see you in April.
Perfect.
More like June, Doc.
Yeah, exactly.
June.
Yeah. Be more optimistic.
I bring the family back in around June. I let them come here.
Nice.
Doc, thanks as always. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, take care, guys. Thanks.
There he is. Doc Pandya. The proceeding was sponsored by UCSF Health.